Oh, okay, we'll try this again. I hope everybody's having a great day. My stomach's a little upset, so I'm not sure how much commentary I'm going to give you. I just hope I can wake up at least one person with these videos to show you how corrupt our government really is. I hope I can at least wake one person up. Do your own research. I'm sure this video will get stricken, but at least if I can wake one person up, then my job will be done. Do your own research, have your own thoughts. Don't let anybody sway you one way or another. But this information's not hard to find. It's everywhere. They've been doing it all along. Thank you. Have a great day and a better tomorrow.
When you think of 9/11, 2001, you'll likely think about the Twin Towers collapsing in Midtown Manhattan. But what you might not know is that another building in New York City collapsed that day. That building was called 7 World Trade Center. Many just call it Building 7. It also came crashing down that day. But why? What really happened? Why aren't we allowed to hear about this? Why is this seemingly being kept from us? One man is aiming to change all of that, a man who was there that day in Manhattan, Ted Walter. He's the executive director of the International Center for 9/11 Studies, who has dedicated his life to helping get answers for the families of the events of 9/11. And he joins us now on Redacted. Ted, thanks for joining us. I have a lot of questions about Building 7. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Clayton. It's an honor to be with you. And I applaud you for taking a good look at this issue.
Well, I think, it's interesting. We have so many of our viewers are always bringing this up, this question. And I've wanted to do a dedicated show on this question for a long time. And I've promised my audience about it. It's something I'm deeply fascinated by on a whole host of levels. We'll get into all of like the nitty gritty details on this. But first, I just want to understand from you, why did you decide to dig for answers overall for the families of the 9/11 victims? Why did you want to dedicate big portion of your life to this?
Yeah, so I moved to New York City 2 weeks before 9/11. I was just starting college there at NYU. And the day of 9/11 was actually my first real day of classes. And I think it was, 15 minutes into my first class when the North Tower was struck. And so 9/11 was really a part of my introduction to the city and really colored my experience there, living all the years that I lived there in my most formative years. And so I always had sort of lingering doubts. And then in 2006, I started digging into it more. And there was a lot of information coming out at that time. And, in the space of a few weeks of studying it deeply, I came to the conclusion that Building 7, as well as the Twin Towers, had been brought down by controlled demolition. And that the story that we'd been given about 9/11 was totally false. And a lot of people react in different ways when they come to that conclusion. And for me, I was, I couldn't help it. I couldn't tolerate that this huge lie, this huge deception was had been perpetrated and was sort of dictating so much of our, the way that our society is organized, our policies, just culturally, it had a profound impact, obviously. And so I just, I ever since then, I've had this burning desire to try to correct the record on what happened that day, to try to help steer the direction of our country, or in a different direction, in a more positive direction, get us away from the policies, the permanent war that's been perpetuated since. And over the years, I've grown very close to many 9/11 family members who have been involved in the same struggle. And to this day, almost 22 years later, are still trying to expose the full truth about what happened to their loved ones, and to get justice and to get answers, and to try to ensure that something like this never happens again. So it's just a deep, sort of profound spiritual drive to correct the record on this, and live in a society that is not governed by such a profound deception and lie.
Well, thank you for that. That's why you're here. That's what our show is dedicated to. So you have an open forum this afternoon for us to be able to talk about this. So in 2006, you mentioned a lot of information was starting to come out. you started to see things that were challenging your belief system. Was there one particular piece of evidence that was shared with you or you discovered that changed everything for you? Were you in the belief system that jets hit or large aircraft hit the World Trade Center? That's what brought it down, and that's what
Mhm.
we've all been led to believe. And we didn't know about Building 7 really at all. So what describe for me what you started to uncover in 2006?
Yeah, it was looking at both at the Twin Towers and Building 7. I think in the case of Building 7, if you just look at it, uh, your first suspicion has to be that it was a controlled demolition. The way that it comes down symmetrically, straight into its footprint, and you learn that steel frame buildings have never collapsed due to fire. So why did three come down in one day? And you look at Building 7 and you say, well, unless there's overwhelming evidence to the contrary, this was a controlled demolition. And there isn't overwhelming evidence to the contrary. All of the evidence points in the direction of it being a demolition. The some of the most rock solid evidence relating to Building 7 and the Twin Towers is the evidence of extremely high temperatures during the destruction of these buildings. In the dust, there are previously molten particles of iron and other materials that reached several thousand degrees in temperature. There's no reason that those materials would be in the dust. Those kind of particles be in the dust unless there was a very extremely hot event that happened in the destruction of the buildings. You actually had molten metal pouring out of the South Tower before it came down, and this the official explanation is that this was aluminum from the aircraft that had melted and was pouring out of the building. But aluminum at the temperature it would have reached would not be this bright yellow orange molten metal. It would be silverish, and so it's right there in front of you. And I think the thing that most affected me at that time was really understanding that the tops of the towers came down, almost at free fall, and yet which implies no resistance whatsoever from the structure below, and yet all of the materials in the building in both buildings were completely pulverized. The steel structure was completely shattered, and so which implies a huge collision of materials. If you're going to have that much destruction, the top really has to slow down and be crushing what's below it, and it doesn't slow down. As if you measure it, it constantly accelerates. So the only thing that could reconcile the fact that they came down so quickly at almost free fall, and yet there's this huge destruction of materials, pulverization of all the concrete, is that it was explosives doing the job. I think that was the concept that hit me the most at that time. But really, you just have to go and look at Building 7, and I think if I don't want to insult anybody, but I think it's crazy to think that building came down due to scattered office fires. It's delusional, and I know that's hard for some people to come to that realization. But I encourage people to go there and to go outside of their comfort zone and open their minds to the truth.
I think our audience does that. So I think this will be really interesting and eye opening for people who maybe haven't, though. I mean, and this is really interesting to think that the official narrative of Building 7 then is office fires, that it was sort of collateral damage caught in some of the debris that was being thrown or thrust away from the Twin Towers, and that pieces of debris would have crashed through the windows and started a fire and brought a steel building to its knees. That's the official story.
That's the current official story. The official story actually changed over the years. Initially, they said it was the diesel fuel tanks that pumped fuel out of them, and the fuel ignited and it heated all the columns. Then the story changed to that it was probably the structural damage from the steel of the North Tower hitting Building 7. And then finally they settled on, no, it was just normal office fires that were ignited when the debris from the North Tower hit the building. So the story's changed over the years. The story is, it's far fetched in the extreme. The fires were pretty unremarkable in Building 7. They weren't very large, and it just it's a one in a million chance. You know, it's never happened before. And then when you dig into the details of the story, at every single step of the way, the phenomena, the structural behavior that they describe, that they allege happened, couldn't actually happen. There's like a solid engineering or scientific reason why each step of the way their story doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's far fetched.
So let's talk about some of the evidence that you have here, some of the video clips. Can you walk me through what we're seeing here and explain on the screen what our audience can expect from this?
Yeah. So looking at the collapse of Building 7 first, there was two clips there. They just show it from two different angles. What you're seeing is the building is sitting there motionless, and then instantaneously goes into free fall. There's not even a transition. And this is some colleagues of mine and I just wrote a paper on this that's going to be published next week in the Journal of 9/11 Studies on our website. But the building just instantaneously goes into free fall, symmetrically into its footprint. It's in free fall for about 2.5 seconds or 100 feet. Imagine standing near a building that's 47 stories high, and it just suddenly goes into free fall like a bowling ball and just drops 100 feet. That's what you're looking.
Without any sort of rumbling from an earthquake or something, some sort of alert alarm that this or a jet hitting the building or anything. It just collapses. It just collapses.
It just collapses like a snap of a finger. Now they have this elaborate story about how one column on one side of the building buckled due to some local structural failures, and that set off this chain reaction. But if you and you do see that in the beginning of one of the clips that I showed you, you see the top penthouse in the building falling into the building about 8 seconds before the rest of the building suddenly goes into free fall. And the official story says that that's caused by this one column failing, which caused that penthouse to fall. And then you get this chain reaction of all the other columns starting to fail, first in the core and then in the exterior. But if you had all that happening, you would see a tremendous amount of deformation on the outside of the building. You would see all this stuff happening. And if you look at their computer models, it's a sort of a combobulated mess of columns failing. And if you look at the video, there's nothing happening. It's motionless. And then it goes into free fall. And if you had a chain reaction of structural failures, you'd see sort of one part of the building start to fall first, start to like cave in first, and then the other part, and then it would sort of like in a very uncontrolled, messy way might start to tilt or whatever. But the idea that just comes straight down is clear-cut evidence that all the columns were removed at the same time. As to that upper penthouse, we believe, and I think the evidence, the observational evidence shows that the columns that were below that penthouse must have been cut high up in the building for the penthouse to come down first. And then 7-8 seconds later, they took out the rest of the columns. So that penthouse coming down first was about sort of controlling the fall of the penthouse, that it didn't fall sort of outside of the building's footprint. If you look at the whole process, it's an incredibly clean process, and you're just not going to get that from a natural building collapse.
I want to get into the why in a minute, but I want to go through some more of these videos and some of this evidence here. So among the other clips that you provide here, can you walk me through what else we see?
Yeah, so I wanted to share with you a couple of clips of that just showing the foreknowledge that Building 7 was going to come down. There's actually many clips, and there's many types of evidence and documentation of people saying, "Oh, this building is going to come down. We know this building is going to come down." I sent you a couple of clips. One was recorded by the CNN crew that was there, and they're walking backwards from the building, and somebody says, "Keep your eye on that building. It's going to come down soon." The CNN cameraman says, "The building is about to blow up. Move it back."
Keep your eye on that building. It's coming down.
Closer to the building, it was almost like nighttime. What was left of the building was a fiery hulk. The firefighters thought it might collapse. Pieces of the building kept falling. Rescue workers pushed people away from the scene.
We are walking back. There's a building about to blow up. On flame, debris coming down.
In the other clip, you have a firefighter, David Restuccio, tell Brian Williams on MSNBC that they had reports all day that the building was damaged and that it might come down or would be taken down.
We are on the phone with New York Fire Department Lieutenant David Restuccio. Lieutenant, where are you right now?
I'm at the corner of Northmore Street and Greenwich Street.
Can you confirm it was number 7 that just went in?
Yes, sir.
And you guys knew this was coming all day.
We had heard reports that the building was unstable and that it eventually would either come down on its own or it would be taken down.
So that's just to indicate that there was chatter, there was discussion all day in the hours leading up to the collapse that that the building might be brought down. So this is not some like far-fetched idea, some a mystery. Like we have evidence that it was discussed and that it was people in the fire department were at least hearing that the building might be brought down. So in terms of the other folks saying this building is going to come down, like there's no way that like somebody is going to can be certain that a building is going to come down at a certain point in time, and then it actually does happen exactly the way that they're predicting. The city officials started saying as early as 11 a.m., 11:30 in the morning, just an hour and a half after the Twin Towers went down, that Building 7 was going to come down, and they were saying it with certainty, 5-6 hours in advance. This is it's never happened before. So yes, the towers had just come down, but you might be concerned about certain buildings in the area, like, ooh, there's a risk here, we need to be cautious. But to like hone in on Building 7 and say this building's going to come down, we got to get people out of here, and then it actually does come down in the exact manner of a controlled demolition, indicates that the warnings that were being put out that the building would come down ultimately came from people who knew that the building was going to be brought down. You then fast forward to like a month after, and you see reports in the New York Times saying engineers are baffled by the collapse of Building 7. They can't explain it. They're stunned. And even 6 years later, the people at the National Institute of Standards and Technology investigating the collapse said we've had trouble getting a handle on Building 7. They were investigating it for like 4 years, and they're still having trouble getting a handle on it. And yet all of the officials at the scene on the day of 9/11 knew that it was going to happen. That doesn't make sense.
Right. And how does a CNN crew know that it's going to happen? You have other eyewitnesses. In fact, my office mate, my coworker, Rick Leventhal, was there, and he was interviewing at the time, if memory serves, and you can speak to this, he was interviewing an eyewitness, a cameraman from Fox News, who was there, who lived in the neighborhood and spoke about Building 7. Do you know about this clip? Do you know about this Rick Leventhal interaction?
I actually don't. I would love to see that clip.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're talking about the same thing I heard of. I heard that the planes weren't real, that they were holograms, and they supposedly shot the buildings with laser beams. I'm not too sure about that. Hard to say, but I don't know. I've seen pictures of the planes with bombs on the bottom of them before they hit the building and stuff too, so it's hard to say really how they brought it down. I think the biggest thing is they did bring it down, and the saddest part is, they've been planning this for probably 30 years on how to control us, with their one world order BS. They just want us to be a bunch of puppets, sheep, followers, take the narrative. Like I said earlier, I'm sure this video will be stricken, but as long as I can inform one person and wake them up and do their own research, the information out there is not hard to find. So what is she saying? She's saying that there wasn't planes, and if there wasn't planes, how was the building taken down? I'm going to go ahead and start this video. My stomach's really not feeling good today. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Rick Leventhal did some great interviews and a great commentary, very important, on the morning of 9/11 when the towers came down, and said, testified to the huge explosions that he felt and that he heard when the buildings came down. And he was asking the very legitimate question: did these buildings come down because of a collapse, or was it some kind of an explosion? So I can send you those clips.
So how is she saying the buildings came down? Yeah, well, one of the biggest thing is how it just turned to dust, and then the molten lava, and then the paper passport that, wasn't touched. I mean, there's just so many things that just like, if you have any common sense at all, if you're not a total sheep, how can you not go, what the hell? How can they find a paper passport sitting there unscathed, untouched around all this molten lava? It really doesn't make any sense to me anyway. But then again, I'm a big dummy. Oh, yeah, I'm a big dummy. No. Anyway, we're going to go back to the video.
But Rick was asking the right questions on the morning of 9/11 before the narrative quickly changed. But yeah, I'm not familiar with the Building 7 clip involving Rick.
Well, let's play it here. Here's a copy of this clip, which shows Fox News cameraman or Fox News employee who was there and watched and heard and described what he saw with Building 7.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse?
To me, it sounded like an explosion. Then the building, the rolling sound sounded like the building collapsed.
Were there other people? There must have been a lot of people on the ground nearby when it happened.
Where that happened, there was mostly law enforcement. I don't think there were many civilians there.
And we were standing here when there was some sort of collapse or explosion, and everyone.
Like I said, I won't be surprised if this video gets struck in two. And I'm not surprised that this person's video you're talking about is not on here. I myself have seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos of very suspicious things going on that day. I seen this one video of this man getting literally blown out of the window. Oh, probably a good 100 feet out of the window from inside the building. You found it, huh? I'm kind of surprised. Like I said, there's definitely not a tenth of the videos on here that there used to be about this. They don't want, think about it. Every time somebody tells the truth, something happens in some way, shape, or form. Either, their video gets stricken for misinformation, or they said the wrong word, or it's just, I don't know. It's just sad.
Started running in this direction. When the building did collapse or whatever it was that happened, it was a huge explosion, a huge rumbling cloud of smoke and fire came across Church Street and then started billowing this way. And all we saw was people running in this direction. Everyone, law enforcement, people, a woman pushing a baby carriage. This is actually, we believe, debris from one of the planes that hit one of the towers on the World Trade Center. The FBI is here, as you can see. They had roped this area off. They were taking photographs and securing this area just prior to that huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
It is compelling to hear that there are eyewitnesses who are saying they heard an explosion, almost like a controlled demolition of this building coming down. So, which brings us to the question, well, why did it happen this way, and who was involved? If CNN was aware of it, if other people were aware of it, they knew that this building was coming down, why were they
Morning, Nubs. How are you doing this morning?
What's up, man?
The sky is always. My tummy's a little upset this morning. I don't know what's going on, but it's kind of tossing and turning.
Oh, that's no good.
I think it's because I'm smoking too many damn cigarettes, honestly.
Well, quit smoking so many damn cigarettes.
I know. I think I just need to be slapped upside the head a couple times, be woke up.
There you go with that self-mastication again. Just keep on ripping yourself down and wondering why you feel like shit.
Gotta, get out of that thing, definitely.
It's that stinking thinking.
No doubt about it.
No, so September 11th, I actually have some personal firsthand information on this one.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it a few times.
Yeah, the whole thing, in my opinion, was a sham. For my understanding, I know for a fact that the plane in Pennsylvania was shot down. There were 2 jets. I heard them. I heard the explosions. I heard the plane hit the ground. I know people that were forcefully removed from their house on Indian Lake. I know the only person that actually watched it go into the ground, I dated his sister. Had drinks with him, and the story that he told was much different. Not only that, but traveling through rural roads and having 3-letter agencies come pop out the wind or out the sides of the woods. To me, that's a big indicator and a big red flag that there's something nefarious going on.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, there's so many coincidental and weird things that happened that day that never happened before. It's like, I remember when I was young, there was some guy in a prop plane that flew by the Pentagon, and within seconds there was like 4 Blue Angels beside it, telling it, it had to get out of there, had to land, and this, that, and the other thing. But that day, there just happened to be, nobody available to see what was going on.
Yeah, there's way too many coincidences in regards to that particular day.
Well, and like I said, the saddest part about all of it is, it was pre-planned many years before that to start the ball rolling for many of the things that are happening today.
Well, look at the laws that changed. The Patriot Act is, and I say laws loosely, because it's an act. It's all an act because the world is a stage. That's why they call it an act.
Right. Well, and it's like, they knew back then, they decided to label our people as sovereign citizens, which is, we all know it's an oxymoron, but they decided to label us that because once they label us that, now we're considered a terrorist.
No, they can exclude us without racial bias.
Well, once you become a terrorist, they can throw you in some black site and not even give you a trial.
Right.
It's just, I don't
Because
know.
it's an act.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's an act. You tell somebody they're a dirty homo, and now you're dealing with hate crimes.
Right.
Like, there's something wrong when you can't speak your mind in a country that was based off of speaking your mind. There's always consequences to speaking your mind. Nevertheless, if you want to face those consequences, you should be able to. If I call somebody a dirty homo and they happen to stab me in my neck, that is
Yeah.
the consequences of me being an asshat.
Right.
I'm willing to accept those consequences. Kind of like if you're driving and you know that your gas is almost gone, or if you're traveling, rather, that the fuel is almost gone, and you're pushing it, and you're like, I'll make it, and then you fucking sit on the side of the road with no gas. That's kind of a consequences of running with no gas or low gas.
Right.
Everybody wants to say, oh, well, this happened to me, and that happened to me, and that happened to me, and this happened to me. Well, it happened to you because you either planned for it or didn't plan for it.
Right.
I was listening to a show yesterday of a wonderful creator and a channel creator, that is, just sitting there saying everything that happened in his life was everybody else's fault. And
Okay.
it's not, the reason my children and wife left me is because of them, and the reason that nobody likes me around town is because of them, and there's no accountability.
Yeah, it sounds a little familiar.
And we all do it, though. That's the thing. Like,
Well,
he's
it's
not
kinda
the
like-
only one. The reason that we recognize it so much and are disdained with it is because we do it ourselves, and we're disdained with it in ourselves.
Right. Well, it's kind of like the video I made yesterday. I'm like, our pitfalls can be our greatest teacher or our greatest enemy.
Dude, you know what the best thing that happened to me in my life? Other than my son being born. One of the best, not the best.
You said before it was your divorce.
Yep. And I'll stand through time and time again.
Well, sometimes, like I said, we need that wake up call. We need that slap upside the head to realize, where our mindset is at that moment in time is not right in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I think that the mental state of America is a great indicator that we don't want those responsibilities.
Just let us take care of all your problems.
Right. It's so much easier to take a pill.
Yeah.
And, oh, well, I got my pill today and now I'm going to be fine. And when the pill doesn't work, I go in and they just up the pill.
Or give you 3 more.
Right. And then 2 more because of the side effect of the first 2.
Yeah, when they started doing that, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, how does it make any sense? Okay, I'm taking 2 pills or whatever, and the 2 pills are not working together. So we're going to give you a 3rd pill to take away the side effect of the other 2, but we're not going to tell you what the side effect of this pill is going to do because of the other 2.
Well, a lot of the time they don't even know.
They don't fucking care. That's the problem.
Well, they're practicing.
Exactly.
They're practicing, and that's what it boils down to. When you're practicing, you're not looking to get it 100%. You're looking to be proficient at it.
Well, if I'm going to be a guinea pig, at least I want to do is get some kind of compensation.
So if you're going to be a guinea pig, why don't you go out and do your own research and guinea pig yourself?
There you
That
go.
way, if there's any side effects or consequences, you are accountable directly for them. You don't have to go through somebody else's house to get to your backyard.
Well, not only that, then you know exactly what caused that reaction and how it reacted and affected you personally.
You're damn Skippy. When I was going through the gallbladder thing with my girlfriend, I would change up the recipe for the herbs that I would give her just a little bit. Switch one out, put one in. She'd tell me. She knew. She could feel
Right.
it.
Right.
Hey, did you give me that herb or Ursa today? No, not today. Okay, I didn't think so, but there was this, and this. Okay, let's check that. Hey, did you give me that herb or Ursa today? Yes. Was these things there? No. Okay, perfect. It's not that difficult to do.
Right. I heard this gentleman the other day say that there is no such thing as germs.
As germs or erms? Because I saw erm down there earlier.
No, germs.
Oh, okay. I was going to call bullshit on that erm thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of the things he was saying, I could understand where he was coming from, but
I can definitely get down with that because there are a few plants out there. Take, for instance, plantain. I go to it all the time. It's a great herb. Plantain is antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, and antiviral. Antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral, and antifungal as well. So it's the big four.
But
And
then again, though, why would you need those things if there is no germs to have that plant battle?
And see, that's where it gets me, because having dealt with, I would say that a virus is less likely to be there than a germ. But I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice, and nor would I suggest anybody do any of what I do unless you want my results.
But then again, I mean, all of our body chemistry is a little different. What works on you might not work on me. Isn't that true?
That's exactly where I was getting at.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yep, because if you have more, well, take for instance, let's say you have more salt in your diet, and I tell you to take something and it sucks the salt right out of your diet, but you need that salt for your body chemistry. Not going to work very well for you now, is it?
Yeah.
People look at me and they give me homage because I know herbs. It's not something to be given homage about. It's something that we should all fucking know. Every single one of us should be out there in our backyard saying, all right, I'm going to take this and take that and take this and take that. But instead, we'd rather say, oh, no, I'm going to vote for somebody, and then they're going to force this on me.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never voted a day in my life.
I vote for me every day.
You know what I mean.
Oh my God, this kitten will not let me alone in the mornings. Every day. Yep, she wants her little bit of cream. Do you remember her from from a couple months back when I showed her?
Yeah.
Check this thing out now.
Yeah.
Manners. It's a full-grown cat.
Yeah, they get big. They get big quick.
Well, I'm pretty sure she's either Russian Wildcat or Mancoon or a combination of both.
Yeah.
Like, she's as big as our fat cat, almost. And she's not even a year old. She's not even 6 months old, I don't even think. Maybe 8.
Yeah, we got this one cat. She looks like she's part Cancun and part Puma, but she's pretty small.
Well, our Puma cat is Moo, and what I was laughing at is she was up on the couch and she jumped down, and Willow was underneath her, so she kind of jumped on Willow, but she didn't know Willow was there.
Right.
And all of a sudden, she jumps down, and then you see Moo up in the air again from nowhere. It was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, they can be pretty funny, that's for sure.
Well, Moo doesn't like herself, much less anybody else or anything else.
Yeah.
I've never been afraid of a cat to pet. Moo, I will give her space,
Yeah.
to say the least.
Yeah, I think it's funny too because I've had so many people tell me, "Oh, animals don't have a personality," and I'm just like, "You need to wake the F up."
Well, I don't think they have a personality because that's from the word persona, and it has to do with humanity. But they do have character.
Yeah.
I mean, not to be a correcting little bitch about things, but
No, you're right. God damn it.
it just makes people sound
Hang
less
on,
than.
there's somebody outside fucking yelling. I gotta see what the fuck's going on.
All right.
Let's try and get that primary.
Sorry about that. Some fucking heroin addict out there tripping out right in front of my house. All right. Well,
You hear me?
I can hear you now.
I said, isn't that Washington's motto, make drugs great again?
I think it's the country's model lately.
Make heroin great again.
Well, you know, I don't know. This whole thing when this supposedly epidemic of the fentanyl thing started to come about, I'm just like, how in the hell is this possible? Because I remember back when Michael Jackson, supposedly OD'd from fentanyl, they were talking about how hard it is to get, and you can only get it from hospitals and this, that, and the other thing. Now it's, everywhere. It's like, where in the fuck is all this shit coming from? It's got to be coming from them. I don't see any other way possible.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you get cocaine and drugs into the ghetto? Growing up there, I never saw any cocaine manufacturing processes.
Yeah.
I never was privy to, the cocoa fields that were filled with flowers, none of that. Yet we had cocaine consistently in the ghetto, and drugs and guns, and it just, how are you going to get it there if you're telling me that the local drug dealer went down to Peru with a backpack, or Colombia with his backpack, and climbed up the mountain and went to talk to the cartel and had a good time about things? No.
Well, I mean, that stuff was done, but it was very minuscule compared to what, lack of better words, call officials were doing. Because we have to have this war on drugs that we're bringing in.
It's a war with drugs, not on drugs.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
It's about terminology, and if you use the right terminology, you can do whatever the fuck you want and still be telling the truth.
Tell you a bunch of lies with a hint of truth.
No, they're all true. It's just true for me. Truth is relative to the one speaking.
So you got any plans for the day?
Clean up. Just some cleanup.
Yeah.
I gotta go later on.
I gotta go, I think around 4:00, go pick Anna up from the airport.
Yeah, you better make sure that that's an accurate number.
Yeah, I think
if it's at 3:00 and you're there at 4:00,
she might be a little upset.
I'd say you might not have a girlfriend.
No, I got her. She sent me her return flight thing. I think it's 4:30, but yeah, I'll look at it again here in a few hours or whatever.
How far is the airport for you?
It's about a half hour. It's funny because the airport here, when I first started coming here back in the late 70s, the only thing that could land there was like prop planes, some private jets, and that's about it. Well, as went on, it's we got to make it the airport bigger and bigger and bigger so we can allow bigger planes in there. I think though still the biggest plane that can land there is like a 737.
That's still a pretty big fucking runway.
Yeah, she was telling me she wasn't sure what the number was, but she said she saw a plane there land in Vegas that was like 4 times the size of a 37, and it was a Hawaiian airline.
Huh. That's a whole lot of plane.
Yeah, she said it was huge. She still couldn't believe it. The only thing I know of, I know it's not a commercial jet, but those damn planes the military use, to haul all their equipment in.
C-130s?
Yeah, those big ones where the front of them or the back of them open up where the tanks and shit can drive into them.
Yeah, that's a C-130 Hercules.
Those things are so big that you wonder how they fly. Aren't those so bigger than the Spruce Goose?
I don't know. There's one in Russia that dwarfs those, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's like 3 of those put together. Stupid big.
That's just insane. I would think with something that big would be, especially up in the air, would be, like you'd have to make it so structurally sound that because of just the sheer size and weight of it.
Well, gravity will pull anything down. Just ask it.
I can't speak to gravity. Can you?
I do all the time. I can do all sorts of sciencey stuff.
Sciencey stuff?
It is my religion, and I know it very well. All I need to do is an experiment, and I can take that experiment and I can blow it up into macrocosm versus the microcosm, and I can tell you that we're 95 billion miles from the closest star, which is the sun.
I got a good one for you. I measured gravity myself.
You were there for that, huh? Schwartzy boy is entertaining. I do love myself some Schwartzy. When he came out with that, I was just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Oh, wait, no, that wasn't Schwartzy's panel. That was OTW or Sovereigns.
Yeah, that was Sovereign.
Yeah, I measured gravity. You fucking liar. He was pissed.
And I know exactly how far away the moon is because I measured that too.
Yes. I know how far it was because I measured it in my spacesuit. I landed on the moon. Oh, wait. I used a little mirror and a laser pointer. Didn't have the technology myself, but, I saw a laser somewhere, so I just guessed.
Well, it's funny. I kept putting in chat, but nobody saw it. I'm like, okay, ask the man how in the hell they used the landline to talk to the astronauts, if you believe it's real.
Well, that one I can understand because they patched it through.
From wire to space to them, okay.
From space to space. It just happened to go to the wire and got cinched up.
So it was a miracle.
No, it was America.
Oh, damn it. I hate that one. No!
America.
That reminds me. Have you ever heard of this guy on YouTube called Whistling Diesel?
I think, yeah.
He's a kid that has become very wealthy from YouTube doing just crazy bullshit. Well, him and his friends one day decided to make a boat that was powered by a big, huge fan and see if it would work. And they went out there half the day and did that. Got, a bunch of people yelling at them and shit for doing that. And then they went out on their jet skis and was having fun. Well, the one guy that was in short yelling at him was like the mayor or something of the fucking town. So he calls the cops, and they're out there in their jet skis, and the cops come and say, "Oh, you were splashing each other, so we must write you a ticket." And then he goes to court, and court basically says, "Hey, we'll drop all your charges. There'll be nothing on your record. All you got to do is get on your platform and tell people to go to this boating safety course." And he's like, "No, fuck you." So I think he said he spent something like $90,000 or something so far trying to fight this damn court battle.
He needs to get a hold of Wizard and get all his money back.
Yeah, it just shows you, how crooked the system really is.
Well, and that's just the thing. Yeah. Take, for instance, last night at Sovereigns. Here are 6 people giving you question after question after question, you obfuscating every single question, giving nothing but bullshit, and you still don't realize that you're the one that's filled with bullshit. Yeah, you get where I'm coming from? Like, obviously not you, but...
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
What was his name?
Started with an A.
Yeah, it was about color.
Hue or something?
Hue, yes. It was a hue of darkness to him. Like, he wasn't so bright. Like, there was a hue that was added and it changed the color altogether. Something along those lines.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know if you're still here, but I'll definitely show that video for you sometime. I just don't think it's going to probably be today. My stomach's really giving me a bad time.
Go eat some sauerkraut.
Over an hour long. I'm sorry, what?
Go eat some sauerkraut.
I don't even have any.
Well, it's cheap at the store. It's normally like under $2 for a big old container, and you only need a swallow of the juice or a couple forkfuls of the sauerkraut.
Yeah, I looked at some the other day, and it was like it was full of just bullshit in it. It's like it should be sauerkraut and water, maybe a little salt, but
no, true sauerkraut should be a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of, a lot of salt, a lot of cabbage, and nothing else.
Yeah, this had a bunch of, I don't even remember, but there was words in there I couldn't even pronounce, let alone want to eat.
Well, just always remember ascorbic acid, that's vitamin C. They use that for longevity. So anything else but ascorbic acid, question. But
right.
That one, it's vitamin C. You use vitamin C all the time for elongation of life, for storing things.
Yeah.
And you think about what happens when you get pumped full of vitamin C. You feel better.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, but I would definitely look in, because there's a bacteria that is found. There's a strain of bacteria that's found in sauerkraut called Lactobacillus bacillitari, and Lactose bacillitary in a 2005 study on Wistar rats found that the rats' testicular size increased, in turn allowing them to be able to produce more testosterone. Now, the testosterone in a human is produced by chemicals that come from the gut biome. So if you get your gut biome correct, then the rest of your body falls in suit.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's something like 90% of your health comes from your gut biome.
Well, your gut is where everything that you eat goes.
Right.
So I'd say it's 100% of your health, except for anything that I'll give you 98%, because
Well, yeah, you got environmental though too. You got to factor in.
right. There is that too, but most of your environmental comes in through the mouth. Very little is absorbed through the skin unless you're interacting, like if you're putting your hand into, say a acid or a base, you're going to absorb it through your skin.
I don't know. What do you think about like all these plug-in air freshener shit? I think they affect. We're inhaling those chemicals, and I think we're absorbing them in our skin too, somewhat.
I'll definitely agree. There is some absorption from the skin from external things, like a lot of that though, our skin, the way the creator designed our skin is pretty resilient. Like we can have something sit on there. It might burn the top couple of layers, but you can get it off. That's why they have wash stations in chemical labs.
Right, and that's part of the reason why I think we have 3 layers of skin is for that protection.
And that's why we also are able to create, as non-melanated people, we are able to create that melanin in those layers of skin. It's for the same purposes. It's to protect us. Like for instance, when I'm out in the sun all summer long, I look about as dark as any what we would consider Native American, if not darker. Why do you think that is? It's to protect my skin. It's because my body says, hey, motherfucker, you're out in the sun all goddamn day. We're going to have to do something.
Right.
If there's anything, it's an adaptation, not an evolution, but an adaptation, definitely, because it goes away.
That's another thing. Evolution is real.
Yeah, did you like how he obfuscated as soon as I asked him about Darwin? You know what the next comment was. Did you read the whole title of the book?
Exactly. Well, weren't you saying right on the cover it says it's not true or something like that?
No, it says it's about racism.
Oh. Yeah, I knew it was something. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it talks about, I don't remember what the exact title is, but it's like we always read the beginning of the title, but we don't ever read the whole title, because if we read the whole title, we would have to burn his statue. And like, I don't know, people like that, you wonder how they have, other than by pure and sheer compliance. 100% compliance so that they don't get caught up in the well, that would question everything.
Yeah. Can't do that.
That's not the scientific method to question everything. Trust the science.
But you work backwards to get there. I don't know. There isn't too many things in life I've had to go backwards to fix something.
Only when I fucked it up in the beginning.
Exactly my point.
I was laying patio pavers the other day, and I was into my fourth or fifth set of 4 because I build them 4 blocks at a time. Well, actually, I build them 1 block at a time in rows of 4. Nevertheless, I realized my pattern was off in the middle of my my lay, and I'm sitting there saying, "Oh dear God, please not all the way back to my first rows." Luckily, I caught it right away. And it was a basic pattern, so it wasn't, I was a half a block off. I used the wrong block. I used a Twinkie instead of a square. But it threw the pattern off and it was visible and everything like that. So we had to take it back up.
Right.
And I looked at Tom and I said, "See, even I fuck up." And he got a big smile on his face because he's been fucking up lately. And his day was a lot better because I fucked up. Ironic how that works.
Like I said, our pitfalls could be our greatest teachers.
It was really weird. I was having some difficulties with him. And I'm not really going to get into the difficulties because that's between he and I. Nevertheless, a little bit of it is him just listening to me in general. And I looked at him and we were running a screed line. We didn't have concrete, but we had sand, so we could screed it with a board. You know, it made it really nice and flat. It worked out quite well. But I'm teaching Tom how to screed. And I looked at him, I was like, "Tom, you just need to let me guide you." And as soon as I said that, dude, it was the middle of the day. This fucking great horned owl is out in the woods just hooting away. Whoo, whoo, whoo. And I'm just like, "Oh, brother owl." Yeah, because I personally, call me fucking nuts all you want, I personally listen to the animals because the animals have more understanding. They aren't wiser than the humans, but they have more understanding and they're closer to the creator. So they're going to tell us where, when, who, and how.
Right.
We just need to know what they're saying and how they're saying it and what, you know, like the whole parameter, you know, pay attention to your fucking brothers.
Right.
And I know that owls do not speak during the summer or during the day. They're quiet, but this one was going ape shit. Maybe something had gotten into its nest and, you know, I don't know what the circumstances were. I know that I was talking to Tom, telling him to let me guide him, and he will be just fine because I will give him the knowledge, the understanding, and the wisdom to do it on his own. It's literally what I was saying to him. And here's this owl just fucking hooting away. And honestly, that owl saved Tom's job that day.
Wow.
You know, and I don't know. I've quit jobs based off of what woodpeckers have said. As crazy as that sounds.
Well, that's the thing. If we listen to our surroundings, it will tell us more than we thought we could ever know.
Yeah, I mean, hell, you got heroin addicts in your surroundings, and all you got to do is walk outside, and you know what's going on.
Half the time, I don't even have to walk outside.
Isn't government mandates great? Here, get your free needles.
Yeah, but the saddest part about it
is they give them the free needles, but a lot of them don't do it. They just like keep using the same one over and over.
Well, why go get a new one when you got one right there? You only were poking yourself. It's okay. Well, maybe poke a friend.
Yeah.
It's okay, man. Don't worry. Needles on the streets, growing up with needles on the streets, I remember it was great. You know, like you didn't think about it. You just ignored it. It became normal, and now they're poking you for no reason. It works great. Just trust the planning and don't worry about the science. Don't question the science.
Well, that's like what I walk both dogs every night around 7 o'clock. I walk a mile walking them, but there's certain places I won't let the dogs go at all because 9 times out of 10 there'll be needles in there.
And that's sad. You got to watch your dogs.
Exactly. Well, it's even sadder is because more times than both fingers I have on my hands, they've been right in front of my damn fence, sitting there, leaned up against my fence, doing their shit. I'm like, I'll go out there and I'm like, take that shit down the street. We got kids, live 3 houses down the road. They don't need to be seeing that bullshit.
And that's just the thing, like what we're going to end up having, and I can speak to this personally firsthand, is growing up watching drug addicts. You're going to have one of two things. One, the children will become drug addicts themselves. They'll accept it for their reality. Or two, you'll have somebody like myself where you look at the benefits and the downfalls. Like, for instance, I smoke pot. I get it. It's a drug. Sure. And if that's the case, so is water. You get where I'm coming. Like, we can classify anything as anything, but when you classify it as a young child and you realize that, heroin makes you retarded, I don't want to do heroin. Well, that's pretty logical, and that shit will stick with a kid or with a child their entire life. And I can only speak from firsthand experience. I've never decided, hey, I'm going to go out and do a drug that I know is extremely addictive and risk being whacked and twacked for the rest of my life. It just doesn't work that way.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is, look at alcohol. Look at how many people a year it kills. And still as far as I know, still in the history of marijuana, it's never per se killed anybody just from the drug. And it's like, but still that's a considered a class A narcotic, which is supposedly one of the most dangerous things there are.
It is dangerous and deadly, dude. But it's not what you think. You remember where I was saying about how you can say the truth, like the war with drugs. The war with drugs is out there, and they're using the drugs to use the war or to do the war. So if you call something that has medicinal benefits a class A drug, you are using that class A drug. It's a class A because it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the one that we should be using. Oh, but no, we've got fentanyl. We can create fentanyl.
No more Willow.
Well, that's the thing that gets me is it's classified, with heroin and cocaine and, all the, I don't know.
All the real drugs.
Yeah. That they're not
drugs that'll fuck you up. And see, I'm not even fucked up with like coca leaves. But once it's turned into cocaine, that changes it. That changes things a lot.
Oh, I'm sure. However, I'm sure you could grab that coca leaf and eat that coca leaf and get so many more benefits from just that raw leaf
I'm sure you could.
Ever could with the process that they're doing to it.
I'm sure you can. Anytime you strip out a particular thing using chemical, that chemical residue is still there. You're not going to wash it. I mean, I don't know. You're not going to take the time and care to wash it if you don't care about the livelihood of the customers. Much like cell phones. Here, buy this $100,000 cell phone. It causes cancer in California, and then use it 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm part of that. Like I'm part of that stupidity, despite how intelligent I am.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like I really honestly believe a lot of our cancer comes from all this bullshit we got floating in our air. You know, it's like even our damn electrical lines. Our electrical lines put out an RF frequency that's pretty, you know, it's harmful.
Yeah.
We used to. I was born and raised in Seattle, and I've been on the CB radio 50 years or so. And when we used to play this game, it was called rabbit hunting, and basically it was a hide and go seek game. Well, we'd always start out at like a Fred Meyer's or something, you know, a big parking lot where we could get a lot of people. Every time you go to a store, your static level would just, you could hardly hear anybody because the static was so prevalent in your receive that it would just blank everybody out. So that
Use
shows me
lasers, dude.
do what?
Use lasers.
Yeah. That's the cure all, right? Because lasers will bend.
Lasers.
And yes, you can see over a 35-foot curve.
Yes. Yes. Anyways, you were saying.
I forgot.
You used to play Find the Rabbit or Catch the
yeah,
Rabbit.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, you'd go to the, like I said, you'd go to the parking lot, and you know, we'd have anywhere between 10 and 100 people there. But like I said, you'd have to get really close together to just to be able to hear each other on the damn radio because there was so much static noise from all the electronic, you know, lights and wires and all that bullshit from coming from the store. It's like that's when I first realized, you know, all the shit that's floating in our air that's got to be radiating us, you know. Then we got all the cell towers and radio waves and TV waves, and I don't see how it can't be affecting us.
Well, it all does affect us. Yeah, there's no way it could not.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, well, for fucking instance, why did they change paint recipes? Because they off-gas toxic chemicals and people were having sick houses. Yeah, like, how do you have a sick house? You put shit in there that makes people sick, and then you can't use the house no more. You know, much
Right.
like a meth lab. That shit gets on the walls. Same thing.
It
Probably the
permeates.
same chemicals.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it one bit.
Or at least a molecule or two different. You know, I mean, pretty damn close. Turpentine and shit. Like, what the fuck? Although turpentine's not horrible.
Well, you know, it's like we were talking about earlier, you know, all these different, they got fentanyl, they've had crack, they've had all these different, you know, powdery substances. And it's like, I've heard, you know, rat poison and all this other shit mixed in there. It's like, you know, if I was a damn drug dealer, I sure in the fuck wouldn't be trying to kill off my customers.
Right. Every drug dealer that I've ever ran into, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some definite heartless motherfuckers that I've ran into.
Right.
Most of the time, they're crack and meth dealers.
Right.
And most of the time, those individuals are their own number one buyer and supplier. You know, like they're on their own shit.
Right.
However, when I've dealt with like weed dealers and stuff, man, your weed dealer will sit down and smoke a fucking blunt with you when you go in and buy a fucking dime bag.
Right.
You know, like he just spent more money on that blunt than you paid him for the weed. You get two highs, and you know, like they and you sat there and talked about the fucking world and the shape, and you know, like it's just not an aggressive product.
Oh yeah, I dealt pot for probably 40 years, and every time when somebody come over, they'd spend an hour or two. You know, we, like you said, we talk about whatever we wanted to talk about or watch a movie or what we did a lot too is like we'd turn a movie on but turn the sound down and talk to each other, but yet we'd still know what was going on in the movie because you got so good at reading lips that you could pick up what the fuck was going on. And
Well, movies aren't too hard. It's all the same fucking movie.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, literally, most of the time, it's the same words from the same actors and actresses. The only thing that changes is the title.
Yeah.
That's because they use movies to tell the truth. Yeah, and then when we say stuff like that, oh, we're fucking nuts. But yet it's right there in plain sight. That's why they made a movie in plain sight.
Well, and the thing that gets me is, lack of better words, we'll call them cartoons or animated, skit series, movies, so on and so forth. How much truth they've interjected into those shows, and we never really paid attention to. Like on The Simpsons, they showed the damn plane crashing into those buildings way before it ever happened.
Or President Redhead coming down the stairs.
Yeah.
Well, that just goes to show you the predictive program that we have. We don't have any true free. Actually, we do have freedom. Freya Domes, Freya, the goddess, Thor's wife, or not Thor's wife, but Odin's wife, who was not very kind to humans, by the way, and Domes, meaning the mind. She controls your mind. Freya Domes. And I could be wrong on that etymology. I mean, that shit happens. I'm okay with that. If I'm wrong, please correct me.
So, do you think like Zeus and Aphrodite and all them really existed?
Fuck yeah.
And you see, I was kind of talking about this the other day. It started out as that belief that there was, like the sun god, there was the rain
The
god,
pantheon.
there was Zeus that powered lightning and all that, and so on and so forth. And then it went from no, there's only one God and he is the God, and then there was the Buddhas, and then there was this, and then there was that.
Well, the opening words of the Bible say, "Come, let us make man in our image."
Right.
Us and our are multiples. They're not. It wasn't that they had pronouns. They weren't using pronouns in the Bible.
Well, like where I was going with this is I think all the different religions and all that were just another way of confusing us because, they all, oh, my God's the only God. Oh, my belief's the best belief, and it's like we've all said before, I believe they're all saying basically the same thing. They're just trying to
Well, they're all the same
divided.
story. It's like a movie. They're all the
Right.
same fucking story. It's all the same fucking words.
Right.
Peace be unto your brother. Don't create war. Don't kill each other. Don't do genocide. And then there's some other rules. It's
Right.
all the same fucking thing. There's little changes, but little changes. I don't get me wrong. Little changes. An inch out of square in a foot is horrible, but an inch out of square in a mile is unacceptable.
Right. Well, like I said, I think it's just another part of keeping us confused and fighting between each other.
Well, if the people that you're looking to control are fighting amongst each other, how will they ever be able to do anything other than to be controlled?
Exactly.
So I don't know. Check these ones out, Larry. We got little ones.
What is that?
Tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful tomatoes, Larry. Beautiful tomatoes. And then we got the bigger ones.
Will you still get a full crop even though those started so late?
It's a fucked up season this year. I don't know.
I
I
got
really don't know. These
I
are
got
actually, ironically, they were all started at the same time.
yeah.
So this, which is 16 to 20 inches, was started at the same time that is.
Wow.
And they're all the same. They're all from the same plant.
Yeah.
I was a funny story. I was taking care of somebody's animals, and that somebody is in a position that is technically, in the grand scheme of things, above me. Like I pay this individual type stuff. And I was taking care of their animals because they were on vacation, and I was helping them out. And I walk up and I look, and lo and behold, here's this 8-foot tall plant, and there's another one sitting next to it. And I'm like, hey, wait a second, I recognize that plant. Yep, it was one of these. Quite entertaining.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, like you're saying, though, how you can have one strain, but yet the plants be so much different, like in size and stuff.
Well, what it was is I put them into 6-packs to start them. And then some of them I left in the 6-packs, and they just stayed small.
Right.
Because
Didn't
they
have,
had nowhere to grow.
yeah, didn't have enough room for the roots to spread.
Right. And so basically what I have is I have older plants, but they don't have much to them. So they, in theory, it should all happen as it should. Whether it does or not will be an interesting experiment. And regardless, I'll definitely, once I figure out what is what, I'll be taking clippings off of everything so I can perpetuate them.
Will you
But
what?
until
Will you bring them indoors?
Oh yeah.
After the season's over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So then, are those tomatoes usually only bloom once a year, or are those multi-blooming?
I don't know. It was like I said, it was a random strain of large tomatoes that I found in a particular place.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll find out. I'll say that. But I know how to take this tomato and clip it, right here, and this become a new one.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not too difficult. You see, I've been busting it. That's fucking rock solid right there.
What do you do? Crack the stem to make it stronger?
Yep.
Yeah.
Here, I'll show you.
I think you froze. Yeah, you froze. And you're out of here. Round and round the merry bush. So yeah, I didn't get to see anything because you froze as soon as you bent down.
Can you see me now?
I don't know. I think you froze again. Nope, you're there.
All right. Can you see me now?
Yeah.
All right. So what you do is you just go in and you just give her a little twist. And you can bend her over a little bit. Nothing too, you know, you don't want to bend it over in half.
You just stressed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
what
I got I did my 4 plants out in my greenhouse. Well, after I started them, I don't know, they were out in the dirt maybe 2 or 3 days, and my damn chicken came by and ate one of them almost down to the damn stalk. And I looked at it, I'm like, holy shit, I don't know if this thing's gonna come back or not, but it came back twice as nice. It's a nice looking little plant now.
I see Willow is through.
I have a willow too.
You have a cat, Willow?
Yeah. That's the one that the hair was missing for a while.
Oh. Well, my Willow has plenty of hair on her tail, so she can donate some.
Her hair's finally it's coming back slow, but it is coming back. It's starting to look good.
Did you ever find your cat?
Well, I got her back. I had to catch her. When she came back, I don't think she was gone for almost 3 weeks. When she came back, I mean, she's not a very big cat to begin with, but she definitely lost a few pounds. I don't think she ate the whole time she was out there. Just skin and bones when she first came back. And her sister, man, it was so cool. I wish I would have took a video of it. She just kind of like looked at her like, is that my sister? That's my sissy! And she goes running to it and just all, brushing up against it and cleaning her. And you could tell her like, where the hell you been, sis?
That's funny. Well, Larry, I've got shit to do, and I'm not getting it done with being on this damn phone.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think I'm going to head out. I'm not going to finish that video. I've enjoyed our conversation. Let me know when you get a chance to look at that thing I sent you.
Yeah, once I get this job done, I'll be able to actually focus on things that are not related to this job.
Yeah. I know, coming to think about it, I know I put my starting up cost probably twice as low as it should be.
So
but I think I could start. I put like 500. I think I could get it going with what I need with about $1,000.
Okay. All right, I'll take a look at it.
All right, man. You take care and have a great day. And as always, a better tomorrow.
And a better. I'll catch you later.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Thank you for spending your time with me. Like I said, as long as we can give one to wake up, to open their eyes, do their research, and see how corrupt our system really is. I love you all. Take care. Bye.